The sound of my granddaughter's laughter usually filled me with warmth. That Thanksgiving, it felt like background noise to a slowly building storm. The air in my daughter Vanessa's impeccably decorated dining room was thick with the scent of rosemary turkey and simmering resentment. I, Gwendolyn Pierce, 65-year-old retired librarian from Portland, watched the scene from my end of the table. My children, Vanessa, 38, Marcus, 35, and Chloe, 32, passed plates laden with food they could afford, in a house they could afford, while discussing ski trips and kitchen extensions. I'd brought the cranberry sauce made from scratch the way my mother taught me. The crack came after dessert. I saw my opening, a lull in the conversation about Bitcoin and boutiques. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't about the money, not really. It was about the promise, the respect. "Vanessa, honey," I began, my voice a careful, light thing. I was looking at my calendar. With the new year coming, I was hoping we could finally put a little plan together for that loan for your down payment. The $18,000? We said we'd revisit it in November. The clatter of Chloe's fork against her china plate was deafening. Vanessa didn't look up from swirling her Pinot Noir. "Mom," she sighed, the word heavy with exhaustion, as if I'd asked her to solve a complex equation. "We've been over this. That was an investment in your grandchild's future, in our stability. You gave us that money." A cold tremor started in my hands. "We had a conversation, Vanessa, in this very living room. You said, and I remember clearly, 'Mom, it's a loan. We'll pay every cent back once we're settled.' You were holding Leo." I gestured to my grandson, now 6, absorbed in a tablet. Marcus chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "Here we go. The ledger comes out at Thanksgiving. Classic Mom." "It's not about a ledger, Marcus," I said, my voice tightening. "It's about your sister's $18,000 and your $9,500 for the can't-miss business venture, and Chloe's $7,000 for what was supposed to be emergency dental work, but somehow funded a trip to Cancun." I kept the numbers crisp. I'd rehearsed them in the mirror. Chloe had the audacity to roll her eyes. "We all contribute in different ways, Mom. You hang on to money like it's going out of style. What are you saving it for? You live in that little house, you drive that old car. It's not like you're using it. Family supports family. It's embarrassing how you nickel and dime us." The word hung in the air. Embarrassing. Vanessa finally met my gaze, her eyes cool and pitying. "She's right, Mom. This constant begging for repayment. It's beneath you. It's transactional. We're your children, not your tenants." Begging. The ice inside me didn't just crack, it shattered, a crystalline collapse that left a strange, silent void. For 3 years, since my husband Robert's sudden heart attack, I had been their safety net, their silent partner, their guilt-absolving ATM. I'd eaten lentils while they ate steak. I'd deferred my own roof repairs to fund their emergencies. A smile, serene and utterly foreign to me, touched my lips. "You know what?" I said, my voice now eerily calm. "You're absolutely right." I picked up my phone from beside my plate. Under the table, my thumbs moved with a certainty I hadn't felt in years. To bank. Cancel all authorized user cards on primary account ending in 4472 immediately. No exceptions. To credit union. Freeze joint checking account, $8901, effective immediately. Allow no withdrawals. To brokerage. Revoke all trading authority for account holders Vanessa Pierce, Marcus Pierce, Chloe Benson, primary holder only. I hit send on each message, a digital guillotine falling silently in the midst of pumpkin pie. "What are you doing, Mom?" Marcus asked, a note of suspicion cutting through his smugness. "Taking your advice," I said, placing the phone back down. "I'm stopping the begging. It is embarrassing." I took a slow sip of water, for all of us. I finished my meal. They resumed their conversations, oblivious to the financial infrastructure that had just collapsed beneath their feet. Their cards would begin to decline at midnight. Their direct debits would bounce. The river of money had just run dry. For the first time since Robert's funeral, I felt a flicker of something resembling peace. It was the peace of a decision finally made. It didn't start with greed. It started with grief. 3 years ago, 2 weeks after we buried Robert, Marcus called. His voice was ragged. "Mom, the shop, the engine just blew. The repair bill is more than the car's worth. I have to get to work. I don't know what to do." What mother says no? I transferred $4,000. "Pay me back when you can, sweetheart," he promised, through tears of gratitude. That promise was the first brick in a wall of falsehoods they built around me. Then it was Vanessa. "Mom, the preschool wants a deposit for Leo that's due now, but Mark's bonus is held up. Can you float us, just for a month?" $3,500. Floating became sinking. Chloe lost her job. "I just need help with rent for 2 months, Mom. Just 2. I'll wait tables. I'll do anything." $2,800 for the first month, then another $2,800 for the second, then a third for utilities and groceries while I job hunt. My retirement fund, built over 42 years of shushing teenagers and meticulously balancing the library's budget, began to hemorrhage. Robert's modest life insurance payout, my buffer against the world, evaporated into their temporary setbacks. The loans grew larger, the promises vaguer, Vanessa's down payment, Marcus's sure thing app development scheme, Chloe's dental crisis that miraculously healed just in time for a beach vacation, documented extensively on social media. I told myself I was keeping the family afloat. I told myself they'd remember this when I was old. I told myself it was love. The wake-up call was a casual comment last Christmas. I'd given them all modest, thoughtful gifts. Chloe, holding the cashmere scarf I'd saved for, said to her brother, "Guess the Bank of Mom is closed for the holidays. At least she sprung for real wool this time." They'd laughed, a shared, conspiratorial laugh. I was the joke, the kindly, slightly dim bank manager they had wrapped around their fingers. I started saying no, small things at first. "I can't cover your car detailing, Marcus." The silence on the phone was frostier than a Portland winter. Then, "No, Chloe, I can't send money for concert tickets." The mood shifted. Visits became less frequent. Calls were shorter, always ending with a sigh and a, "You just don't understand how hard it is for our generation, Mom." And I swallowed it. I swallowed the guilt, the loneliness, the fear that if I stopped the money, I'd stop being their mother. Until Vanessa called me embarrassing. Until she called it begging. My phone began its symphony of panic at 6:03 a.m. I was already awake, sitting in my worn armchair with a cup of real Kenyan coffee, not the instant grit I'd been buying. Vanessa, 6:03 a.m. "Mom, my card is being declined at the grocery store. I'm trying to get stuff for Leo's play date. Is there a system error?" Marcus, 6:47 a.m. "What's going on? The joint account is frozen. I have vendors to pay." Chloe, 7:15 a.m. "OMG, Mom, my card got declined trying to get coffee. So embarrassing. Fix this?" I finished my coffee. I watered my plants. I took a long, hot shower. The buzzing was a pleasing hum of consequence. By 10 a.m., the tone had shifted. Vanessa, at 10:22 a.m. "Mom, this isn't funny. We're at the mall for Black Friday and nothing is working. Mark is furious. Call me now." Marcus, 10:45 a.m. "Did you do something with the accounts? This is a breach of our agreement." Chloe, 11:10 a.m. "Are you punishing us? For Thanksgiving? This is so childish." At noon, the cavalry arrived, all 3 of them on my doorstep. Vanessa's face was flushed with rage, Marcus's with confusion, Chloe's with theatrical hurt. "What is the meaning of this, Mother?" Vanessa demanded, pushing past me into the living room. She hadn't called me mother since she was 15 and hated me. The meaning, I said, closing the door softly, is that the Bank of Mom is officially and permanently closed for business. You can't just cut us off, Marcus exploded. My business runs through that joint account. Your business that hasn't turned a profit in 2 years, despite $9,500 of my investment? I asked mildly. Perhaps a fresh start without my funding will be good for it. This is about the money? Chloe wailed. You're choosing money over your own family? I looked at them, these 3 beautiful, entitled strangers I had raised. No, Chloe, you chose money over your mother. You chose to see me as an asset. Assets get managed, and sometimes, I said, they get liquidated. Vanessa stepped forward, trying a new tactic. Her voice softened, dripping with condescending concern. Mom, we're worried about you. This isn't like you. After Dad died, we know you've been fragile. Maybe you're not thinking clearly. The grief card. I almost admired its predictability. My thinking has never been clearer, I said. You have 3 options. 1. You can leave my house and figure out your own finances, as adults do. 2. You can sit down and we can draft a legal binding repayment plan for every cent you've borrowed, with interest. 3. You can continue to insult me in my own home and I will call the police to have you removed for trespassing. The silence was total. They had never heard this voice from me. It was the voice I used with delinquent students who thought they could return an encyclopedia 3 months late without consequence. You'd call the cops on your kids? Marcus whispered, horrified. I'm calling them on the people who are financially exploiting a senior citizen, I corrected. Now get out. The siege that followed was both brutal and enlightening. They tried every weapon in their arsenal. Chloe launched Operation Pity, showing up with red-rimmed eyes, claiming she couldn't make rent, that her life was in shambles. I handed her a list of local shelters and part-time job openings. Independence is tough at first, I said. You'll get the hang of it. Marcus tried logical negotiation. He brought spreadsheets showing how my sudden withdrawal of liquidity was damaging his creditworthiness. I showed him my own spreadsheet, a simple list of dates, amounts, and broken promises. My liquidity has been damaged for 3 years, Marcus. Welcome to the club. Vanessa went for the nuclear option, the family. She mobilized my sister, Diane. Diane arrived, a storm of polyester and disapproval. Gwen, for heaven's sake, they're your children. You help family. That's what we do. Did you help your son buy his Porsche, Diane? I asked. She blinked. No, because he earns his own money. Why is it different for me? It just is, she sputtered. You're their mother. Exactly, and I'm done being their victim. After Diane left, defeated, I began a deeper audit. Not just of my accounts, but of Robert's old files. In a box marked Tax Docs 2015-18, I found a sealed envelope addressed to me in Robert's shaky, later years handwriting. My heart stopped. Inside was a letter. My dearest Gwen, if you're reading this, I've gone and botched everything by leaving first. There's something I never told you. Years ago, I bought a few shares of stock for the kids, a little nest egg from their old pop. It's not much, maybe $25K now. It's with Fairhaven Securities. The account is in your name too. I was saving it for a surprise. I'm telling you this because I've seen the way the kids lean on you. You have a heart bigger than this whole city. Don't let them lean so hard they knock you over. That stock money is for you. For a cruise, for a new furnace, for whatever makes you smile. Don't you dare let them guilt you out of it. I was always so proud of how you stood your ground at the library. Stand your ground here, my love. Be the fierce woman I fell for. Forgive a foolish old man for keeping one last secret. All my love, always, Robert. Tears blurred the ink. He knew. Even from the grave, he was trying to protect me, and he'd given me a key, Fairhaven Securities. A cold dread followed the warmth. If Robert had told me, had he told anyone else? A call to Fairhaven confirmed my fear. Yes, Mrs. Pierce, we've been sending statements. We had an inquiry about that account just last month from a Marcus Pierce. He claimed you were incapacitated and he was helping manage your affairs. We requested a power of attorney, which he never provided. Marcus. He'd been digging. He'd smelled another pot of gold and tried to get to it first. I hired a lawyer. Sylvia Mendoza was a sharp, no-nonsense woman who listened to my story, reviewed my evidence, the saved texts. I swear I'll pay you back, Mom. March is good, I promise. The bank transfers, Robert's letter, and nodded. We have enough for a strong civil suit for the unauthorized credit card use Chloe admitted to in a text. The loans are messier, but not unenforceable. The attempted access of the brokerage account is serious. We'll start with the demand letter. The letters went out by certified mail. The response was a unified, furious wall of denial. They hired a lawyer. My children were now my legal adversaries. The meeting in Sylvia's conference room was an exercise in surreal horror. My 3 children, with their young, tired-looking attorney, faced Sylvia and me. Their lawyer spoke first. My clients maintained these were gifts, expressions of familial love. There was no formal loan structure. Sylvia slid a packet across the table. Page 3 shows a text from Marcus Pierce on April 12th that reads, "Mom, loan me the $2,500 for the vendor bill, and I'll square up with you on the 30th. Page 7 shows a Venmo from Chloe Benson with the memo, "Rent loan, thank you." The pattern is clear. Vanessa spoke directly to me, her voice trembling with betrayed fury. "How can you do this? We're a family. We'll be paying a lawyer instead of you." "You should have thought of that," I said, my voice steady, "before you decided my retirement fund was your inheritance to spend early." After hours of brutal negotiation, we reached terms. Total repayment of $4,500, the principal of the loans. 5% annual interest, retroactive to each transfer date. A 3-year payment plan with automatic payroll deductions. Full relinquishment of any claim to Robert's brokerage account. They cover all my legal fees. They signed. The color drained from their faces as they did. It wasn't a victory. It was a salvage operation. The first few payments came like clockwork, extracted by the force of law, not love. The silence was profound. I grieved. I grieved for the children I thought I had, for the family dinners that were now forensic audits, for the loss of the narrative I'd told myself, that I was the beloved, generous matriarch. But with the silence came space. I claimed the stock account. I didn't take a cruise. I replaced my crumbling roof. I donated to the library where I'd worked, funding a literacy program in my name. I joined a hiking group. I rediscovered Gwendolyn. 6 months into the payment plan, Chloe called. Not to ask for anything, to talk. "I got a second job," she said, her voice small. "At the bookstore. It's hard, but I'm paying my own rent, for the first time." "How does it feel?" I asked. "Terrifying," she said. Then after a pause, "Good." A year later, Marcus showed up at my door with a check, an extra $500. The business, it's actually turning a profit. "Now that it's the only money I have," he said, not meeting my eye. "Turns out I'm a better businessman when I'm not playing with house money." I took the check. "Thank you." Vanessa was the last to bend. It happened on Mother's Day. A card arrived, not extravagant. Inside, in her elegant script, was no request, just, "I'm learning, Mom. Slowly. Happy Mother's Day." It's been 3 years. The final payments cleared last month. They invited me to dinner last week, at a restaurant they paid for. The conversation was stilted at first, a bridge over a deep canyon. We talked about their jobs, my book club, the weather. It was ordinary. It was real. Marcus apologized. Not a grand, sweeping apology, but a specific one. "I'm sorry I tried to get into Dad's account. It was wrong." Vanessa said, "I called it begging. I was wrong. It was accountability. I'm sorry I couldn't tell the difference." Chloe just reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm glad you're tough, Mom." The relationship we have now is smaller, quieter. It has boundaries as clear as lines on a legal document. There is affection, but it is wary, tested, and stronger for it. They see me now, not as a resource, but as a person who loves them, but who loves herself too. I sit in my cozy, fully paid-for house, watching the rain on the Portland maples. The financial safety net is gone, but in its place is something sturdier, self-respect. They learned that love isn't a blank check, and I learned that sometimes the most motherly thing you can do is to let your children fall, so they can learn how to stand on their own. And I am finally peacefully standing on my own. With the legal battle settled and the automated payments a silent, monthly reminder of the new order, the vast quiet of my house became both a sanctuary and an accusation. I had won, but victory in a family war is a hollow, echoing thing. The photographs on the mantel, smiling faces at graduations, weddings, beach trips, now felt like exhibits from a closed case. I took a trip. Not the cruise Robert had imagined, but a solo drive down the Oregon coast. I stayed in modest motels, walked on windswept beaches, and ate clam chowder from paper cups. No one knew where I was. The liberation was terrifying and exhilarating. For the first time in 40 years, I was accountable to no one's schedule, no one's needs, no one's expectations but my own. I came home a week later, sun-touched and sand in my shoes, to a pile of mail. Among the bills was a handwritten envelope from Vanessa. My heart clenched, a Pavlovian response to potential conflict. Inside was not a plea, but a photocopy of a budget spreadsheet, with a note clipped to it. Mom, I've been working on this. Mark and I are finally doing it. Thought you'd appreciate it. V. It was meticulous. Income, expenses, a line item for mom, repayment, and most startlingly, a small line for savings, Leo's college. She was planning for her son's future, not pilfering from mine. I didn't reply, but I placed the note on my fridge. A tiny flag of truce on the stainless steel landscape. The past, however, wasn't finished with me. In late summer, I received a voicemail from a man with a gruff, unfamiliar voice. Mrs. Pierce, this is Frank Driscoll. I was a business associate of your husband, Robert. There's a matter I need to discuss with you. It's about an old project. Please call me back. Suspicion, my new constant companion, flared. Another secret account? Another child sniffing around? I called Sylvia Mendoza first. Hear him out, she advised, but meet him in my office. We'll have a paralegal present. No home meetings, no coffee shops. Frank Driscoll was a large man in a suit that had seen better days. He had the weary look of someone who'd done business in back rooms. He placed a faded manila folder on Sylvia's conference table. Robert was a good man, Frank began, avoiding my eyes. We had a side project, a small commercial property investment with 2 other guys. It was informal. When he passed, things got messy. The other partners, they kinda let it slide. The property's been managed by a third party, barely breaking even. He slid a statement across the table. It was for a limited liability company, Pierce Driscoll Holdings. My name was listed as Robert's successor. The thing is, Frank continued, rubbing his neck, we got an offer. A developer wants the land. It's a good offer. But we need all partners, or their estates, to agree to sell. I tried. I got a call from your son, Marcus, a while back, asking about Robert's business interests. I gave him vague answers. But then I thought, Robert would want you to know, not the kids. The number on the offer sheet made my breath catch. After fees and splits, my share would be just over $90,000. Why are you coming to me now? I asked, my voice tight. Frank looked genuinely ashamed. Because the other guys wanted to lowball you, buy you out cheap before you knew what you had. I sat on it. It didn't sit right. Robert talked about you all the time. My Gwen's the smart one, he'd say. Figured you deserved to know. This was it, the final cruel test, a sum that could erase my financial anxieties forever. And it had almost been stolen from me twice, first by shady partners, then potentially by my own son's snooping. With Sylvia's fierce guidance, we negotiated, we sold. The money hit my account, a number so large it felt abstract. I paid off my mortgage entirely. The deed to my house, now truly, solely mine, arrived in the mail. I framed it and hung it in the hallway where a family portrait used to be. Chloe's 35th birthday arrived. I received an invitation, a simple digital evite, not a demand for a gift or funding for a party. It was to be a casual barbecue at a friend's house. I debated for days. Going felt like stepping back into the lion's den, voluntary vulnerability. Not going felt like conceding that the rift was permanent. I went. I brought a bottle of wine and a book I thought she'd like. The party was filled with her friends, people I didn't know. I felt like a ghost at the feast. But Chloe, to her credit, introduced me proudly. "This is my mom, Gwen." No qualifiers, no jokes. Marcus was there manning the grill. He nodded at me. "Mom." It was neutral, not warm, but absent the old resentment. He brought me a plate. "Burger's done. No onions, right?" He remembered. The small, ordinary kindness undid me more than any drama ever had. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom, where I cried silent, confusing tears. Not of sadness, but of a profound, disorienting grief for all the ordinary kindnesses we had missed. Life has a way of mocking your carefully built walls. Just before Christmas, I slipped on an icy patch in my own driveway and broke my wrist. It was a clean break, but it meant surgery, a cast, and one-handed helplessness. The kids found out, not because I told them, but because Vanessa, doing her new check-in without asking for anything routine, called when I was hopped up on post-op painkillers and let it slip. The response was not what I expected. They didn't descend with pity or use it as leverage. They organized. Chloe set up a meal train among her friends. Marcus came over and salted my driveway, installed a grab bar in my shower, and programmed voice commands into my phone. Vanessa handled the insurance paperwork, a nightmare at the best of times. They did it quietly, efficiently, and without any discussion of money. They just showed up. As people who could help, not as petitioners seeking favor. One evening, as Chloe was washing my dishes, she said offhandedly, "You know, when you cut us off, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And the best. I had to look at myself, and I really didn't like what I saw. I was trapped in a chair, vulnerable, in pain. And yet, for the first time in years, I felt safe with my children. In the spring, sorting through the last of Robert's files, I found another letter. This one was addressed to all 3 children, in his handwriting. It was dated just weeks before he died. My name was not on it. A cold dread washed over me. Was this another secret? Instructions to them about how to handle me? I held it for days, a sealed grenade on my desk. Finally, I invited them over. I didn't mention the letter. I made tea. The conversation was still awkward, a language we were all relearning. When there was a lull, I placed the unopened envelope in the center of the table. "I found this. It's for the 3 of you, from your father. I haven't opened it." 3 faces stared at it, a mixture of fear and longing. They had grieved him too, in their own way, while simultaneously using his absence as a tool against me. "You should read it," I said. "Together. I'll be in the garden." I left them there. I deadheaded roses for 20 minutes, my heart thumping against my ribs. What truth was he telling them that he couldn't tell me? Vanessa came out first, her eyes red. She wordlessly handed me the single sheet of paper. "Kids, if you're reading this, I've cashed in my chips. Don't be too sad for too long. I had a good run. Look after your mother. Not her finances, not her house. Her heart. She's stronger than she looks and kinder than she should be. Don't mistake that kindness for weakness. Don't take advantage of the biggest heart you'll ever know. The best thing you can do for her and for me is to stand on your own 2 feet. Make her proud by being independent. Make me proud by being decent. Love each other, be better men and women than I was, and for God's sake, call your mother. Dad? We all cried then, in my sunny backyard, surrounded by the roses Robert had planted. We cried for the man who saw it all coming and tried, in his clumsy way, to fix it from beyond the grave. We cried for the time we'd wasted. Today, my relationship with Vanessa, Marcus, and Chloe is not a storybook ending. It is a careful, ongoing construction project. We have monthly dinners. We take turns paying. We talk about books, politics, their lives. Money is rarely discussed. When it is, it's with a transparent, almost clinical respect. I'm thinking of investing in a new laptop. What do you think of this model? Not, I need a new laptop. They have partners who regard me with a polite, slightly wary respect. My grandchildren are learning that Grandma Gwen has firm boundaries and an endless supply of library book recommendations. I have my own life, rich and full. I volunteer, I travel with friends from my hiking group, I sit on the library board. The money from the property sale sits in conservative investments, a security blanket I hope never to need. Sometimes, when we're all together and laughing at some silly memory, I catch a glimpse of the family we could have been, the family I dreamed we were. There's a pang of loss for that phantom family. But it's followed by a deeper, more solid appreciation for the real, flawed, and striving people in front of me. They are not my caretakers, nor am I theirs. We are separate satellites, occasionally aligning in our shared orbit of history and blood, each glowing with our own hard-won light. The other day, Marcus helped me set up a new streaming service. As he was leaving, he paused at the door. "You know, Mom," he said, not looking at me, "that whole thing, it sucked. But I'm glad you did it, even though I hated you for it." "I know," I said. I think Dad would be glad too." He left before I could reply. I closed the door and leaned against it. The house was quiet, but the quiet was no longer empty. It was filled with the peace of a battle ended, of terms accepted, of a life, my life, finally, unequivocally belonging to me. The war was over. We were no longer prisoners or combatants. We were simply, cautiously, a family again. Different, scarred, but real.